Hi there, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 359. I'm Lisa, also known as Fiber Nymph across most of social media, and today is Wednesday, February 17th. So welcome to the episode today. Thanks for coming. If you're a new viewer, I feel like I've had comments from a lot of new viewers lately, so thank you so very much for checking the podcast out. If this turns out to not be your cup of tea, I totally understand, but thankfully there are lots more videos out there from other YouTube content creators that might better suit you. But for those of you who do like what you see here, thank you so much, and I hope you'll come back. And for those of you who have been coming back for these many, many years maybe, or some of them, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I especially enjoy having comments from you guys on either the YouTube video or in any of the places where I post the show notes. You can find all of that information, the links to where you'll find show notes and timestamps in the drop-down menu, which will also include the show notes and timestamps. In case you don't know what timestamps are, they are in the YouTube drop-down menu, and they're usually highlighted, which means if you click on one, it'll jump you directly to that section, so that if there's a section of the podcast that you don't feel like watching, no problem, you can just click on it and jump directly to what you do want to watch, instead of having to listen to things that you aren't interested in. I try to do those every episode. Sometimes I don't get it done because of lack of time, but I really do try to do it. Anyway, today it's very bright and sunny out. We do have snow, so everything's reflecting, which is lovely at this time of year. I'll take all the light and brightness I can get. But I decided to record in the bedroom here at this angle. I haven't done this one in a while, so you're seeing a good bit of our bedroom. Unfortunately, there's a window right here as well as in front of me, but this one creates sort of a hazy glare, so maybe it'll make me look a little ethereal or something. I don't know, but hopefully it's not distracting. My show notes are over here to my right on the computer, so if I glance over here a lot, you'll know why. Anyway, I hope things are good for you. I hope you are staying warm and happy. And if you got hit by some of this crazy weather down south, I know Texas really got some unordinary or out of the ordinary weather for them. I hope you managed to get through it. I haven't heard if it's still happening or what, but I'm sure it was not fun if you're not used to that kind of weather. So I hope you're all doing well. We're going to get right into things because I actually do have to run out later today, and so I thought I'd try to get this done ahead of time. But I do have a lot of projects to share with you today. I have some more chatter, well, not chatter, but more. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the upcoming nature make-alongs that we're going to be doing this year. They don't start until March 1st, but I had some comments and questions, so I thought I would address those. And then I do have the drawing for the self-striping yarn book and the yarn that I am giving with that book. And then we will have a little bit of shop news because there will be a shop update this coming Saturday, the 20th at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then I have my favorite things this week, things that are bringing me joy, and I'll tell you about those at the very end. So let's get started into the knitting first. I do have a couple of finished objects to share with you. And the first one I can't show you because it's not in here, and it would have been awkward to try to have brought it in how it's situated. It's the Lazy Susan mat that I told you I was working on last week. I guess I showed it to you. I did get it finished. I think I may have even finished it the same day that we were talking. And I will put a picture in here of how it looks on the actual Lazy Susan. I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. I was reading my crochet incorrectly, which was what I figured probably was the issue. But I also didn't realize that because I was doing something so large, I really needed to be including some just straight rounds without increasing. And I was, as I had told you last week, I had been following the beginning of the pattern for the ball band Cup Cozies by Jennifer Lassonde, and I think she did not include straight rounds in the bottom of those Cup Cozies, and I'm assuming that's probably because it was such a small area, and she just wanted to get those increases in so you could start working up the sides of the Cup Cozies. But doing something as large as I was doing, it was almost 12 inches in diameter. It definitely did need those straight rounds to keep it from getting all curly. And it is a little curly and wibbly wobbly around the outside edge. But honestly, I'm not too worried about it because it's serving its purpose. It's on the Lazy Susan. It has kept it from rattling for the most part, so the things that are sitting on it aren't rattling every time we move or bump the table. So it's serving its purpose, and I'm fine with it. But I do appreciate the comment. I know at least one person did comment about putting straight rounds without increases in that would help it lay flatter. So I will keep that in mind for the next time I make something like that, and hopefully it'll work out a little bit better. But right now it's a finished object, and I'm very pleased to have it. My next finished object, and you're probably going to laugh, is, yes, another Marled Scrappy Hat. This is the 8th one I think I did. I was doing them last month as part of the Downseller Studios pigskin party. That was the January interception, was to do scrappy hats. But I still had a collection of yarn left that I hadn't gotten to use in January. And I needed, oh my gosh, look at that. You can see Fluff floating around in here in the sun. Anyway, I forget what I was doing one day, and I just needed a very plain vanilla kind of project to work on that I didn't have to count or think about anything. So I had it all sitting out there. I cast on. So here it is. This was a collection of sparkly yarns that I had put together. So yeah. And it's pretty much the same recipe that I had been using. My plain vanilla hat recipe. So I did end up calling a local, our county's community action agency. They do things like, they have a food bank, they have emergency help for people and things for older individuals, you know, a whole bunch of programs. And so I thought, well, maybe they have some way that they would be able to distribute, you know, these kind of items. And I did get a reply back from the woman who I guess takes care of that kind of stuff. I don't know. And she said she'd be happy to take my hats. I told her I only had about a dozen, and now I'm thinking I may not have quite a dozen. I know I did 8 of these, plus I have that crocheted hat. But I have a few other hats that I've knit just over the years that were never actually for a purpose, and they've just been sitting around. So I'll probably include those in too. So I'm going to mail those off, but I wanted to show you this one first. And I will probably continue to knit these as I have leftovers to work with because I really enjoy them. And they are really good, plain vanilla, no thinking kind of projects to work on. But by the way, I'm not wearing any knitwear other than my socks right at the moment. But that was not true up until the moment I started to record. I was actually wearing my Soldotna, which is this is the top I always wear underneath my Soldotna. Yeah, this is made out of my Beguiled base, all 4 of the colors. And I was way too hot in it as I was getting ready to record, so I took it off. But I would be wearing this if I was not so warm right now. I don't know why I felt the need to tell you that, but it was sitting here next to me, so I thought I would share. All right, so that's one finished object. My second finished object, where is it? It's right here, is the hat that I said I was going to make for my daughter that is the second version of the Winter Sunset hat. Now, the pattern that I was technically using for this was by Julia Swart, who goes by Wee Sheep Designs, and it was called Cloudy with a Chance of Rainbows. You saw mine last time, and I did do some modifications in mine. Primarily, I just did this whole color blend, I guess you could call it, because these are marled. I did it through the whole top of the hat, just like I did on this one. The difference is I did not do, on this one, I did not do, like, there's supposed to be an inch of the brim color. I left that out of this one at my daughter's request. And I do like how it turned out this way. The other thing I did was I decreased the stitch count on this one for the brim. And I think I went down a needle size as well. I'd have to check my notes. But the brim on mine was a little bit big. It was just on the edge of being big. Now, like if my hair's all fluffy like it is today, it would probably be perfect. But for Emma, whose hair's not quite, I mean, her hair is very curly, but she usually has a lot of product in it that keeps it from being quite as woohoo as mine is. She just wanted it a little bit more snug. So I did do it smaller. Now she has been wearing this, and I noticed when I went in her room to grab it today to show you, it has stretched out. The brim has stretched out a good bit. And my hunch on this is because, okay, so the yarns I used for the brim, it was my Mountain Tweed fingering, the BFL. In just the plain vanilla color. So there's 2 strands of that being held with 1 strand of the Kidsilk mohair, my Floof base in Wisp. And then this is a mini set from Millhouse Designs. It had 6 different colors, which you can see, and I marled them into 5 different segments. They're just so pretty. I just love these colors. And then I held some Kidsilk Haze, Rowan Kidsilk Haze, with it in a berry color. Anyway, my guess is that it's the Kidsilk Haze, the mohair silk, that is keeping the ribbing from really maintaining its tight structure, and making it not quite as bouncy. I don't know any other reason why this would be happening, because this ribbing was quite tight when I finished it. There may be, I don't know, if I have a picture of it right after I finished it, I'll put that in here, and maybe you'll be able to see the ribbing on there. It was very tight and springy, but now that she's worn it, it's just not springing back as much. So I'm not sure what to do about that. She hasn't complained about it, but I have the feeling that over time it is going to maybe just get to be too loose to stay on comfortably. My thought is I may get some elastic thread, because I know that comes in a couple of different colors that I've seen. I might just get the neutral color and be able to weave it like on the inside of the ribbing, or maybe like right up here where it meets, to be able to pull it in a little bit and give it some bounce back. So we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, I love how this turned out. Again, I think I went down, what size did I use? For mine, I used 7s and 8s. I think I went down to a 6 for the ribbing on this, and I still used the 8 for the body of the hat. And I did increase the body of the hat back up to the amount of stitches it was supposed to have after having gone down. Because I think this started with, I don't remember how, I don't know, I'm not going to guess. It's in my it's in my project notes. But yeah, all in all, I'm really happy with this, and she really liked it. It was her Valentine's Day gift, so. Along with a fun little notebook that I found for her, because like her mother, she likes the stationery stuff. So, all right. Is there anything else? Nope, those are the only finished objects, those 3 items. But I do have a couple of works in progress that I've really been spending most of my time on. And the first one is my Ramona cardigan, which has made a good bit of progress since you saw it last. So let me see if I can get it here so that my needles will not fall out. I don't have point protectors on it. Okay, so here we are. Woo! That color is very accurate right now. That's a very good view of that as I'm looking at it. So obviously I finished the raglan increases, and I'm now on the body. The sleeve stitches are on, I didn't use waste yarn. I used the short cables from my my Lika interchangeable set. I like doing that because then when I'm ready to knit the sleeves, I can just put needles right on them and knit away. So anyway, both sleeves are on holders, and I'm about, I would say, 5.5 inches down the body. There is an option to do waist shaping. I'm not doing the waist shaping. Let me back up because I didn't tell you the details. It is the Ramona cardigan, and it's by Elizabeth Smith. The yarn that I'm using is Briggs and Little Heritage. It's a very woolly wool in this beautiful red color, which again, I don't remember. I don't have it in my show notes what actual color it is. Do I? No, I don't know. The number is probably in my project notes. Anyway, after I got a couple of inches down on the body, I did try it on, and I put a longer cable, because that's the other thing. I'm using the Lickas for this part too, and I just took one of the needles off, added a second cable to make it long enough for me to try on. It's very convenient that way. And it fits perfectly. So I'm very pleased about that. The sleeves feel like they're a little bit big, like going to be roomy up here, but from experience, I know that when I knit sleeves in the round, they always end up being more snug than the fabric of the body. So I'm not too worried about that. And even if it wasn't more snug, I think it would probably be okay. I think they'll be okay once they're all pulled in on a needle and being knit. So anyway, I'm just working down the body. I've shown you this before, but the raglans have this really cool little garter stitch detail, and then that is also occurring in this faux side seam under the arm. So, and I don't know if one of those is written into the pattern for under the sleeve as you're knitting down, but if it's not, I'm probably going to add it. And then once I get to the bottom, the pattern says to knit the body 9 inches from where you took the arms off. I have to measure. I may want to go another inch or so. And then it's got a fairly deep ribbing that will also, as far as I can tell, it sort of mirrors this patterning. So I haven't really read that far in advance. So that's why I can't tell you any more details than that. But I'm really, really happy with how this is turning out. I'm just about to the end of my second ball. I think I have one more ball wound, and I'm pretty sure, I know I have at least 2 more skeins, maybe 3. I don't remember how many I purchased, but I have no doubt that I will have enough yarn to finish the project without a problem. The one thing I am noticing, even as I'm just working on this though, is red is going to be a bear of a color to wear in this house, because this red shows up every white piece of cat hair that is anywhere near me. It just seems to magnetize to it. And we have 5 cats, 2 of which are primarily white. 2 others are probably about half white and half other colors. And then we have one that's gray with just a tiny bit of white. But I'll tell you what, this red definitely wants to cling to the white cat fur. So I don't know, might be interesting. That's kind of like why my antler cardigan is a great cardigan to just wear around the house all the time, because it's that neutral stone kind of color and it doesn't show anything unless I get it really dirty. Like that one time when I bumped my elbow on the inside of the pellet stove door and all that greasy soot kind of stuff got on my elbow. That's never come completely clean, but whatever. Okay, so that is the Ramona cardigan, which I'm really enjoying. I can't wait to have it. I had this really brief fantasy of like tearing through it and having it done to wear on Valentine's Day. I'm so silly sometimes. Okay, my other project is a new cast on, so you've not seen it, although I may have already mentioned it. It is called the Riblet Shawlette, and it is by, where are the notes? Marilee Erickson. This was a pattern. I did purchase it on Ravelry. I'm not sure if it's anywhere else, but if it is, I will link that in the show notes. Okay, a little backstory. I'd gone through my library or my queue, maybe my queue on Ravelry earlier this year, and I kind of just made a loose list of patterns that I'd kind of like to knit from my library, especially ones that I already own the patterns for. And so this was on it, the list that I made. I don't think I already owned the pattern for this one, but I had some yarn that I specifically thought would be cool for this. But at the same time, I had a cowl that was a ribbed cowl, and it was a really interesting construction. The name of it escapes me at the moment. I think it was Erica, A-R-I-K-A, and I don't remember who it's by. It's a really cute pattern, and it has fringe. It's kind of a bandana style cowl that has fringe, and the fringe was what sucked me in, quite honestly. You know I love my fringe. So I actually did start that. Matter of fact, I started that with, hi, with this yarn, which is what I ended up using for that crocheted hat that I did that ended up being super small. But that's what the original project was for this yarn. So I started it, but you started out doing just ribbing, and then it grows, and then it comes around, and then you do this little seam thing. So you have the bandana part here, but the starting is just ribbing that grows. And I got a couple inches into it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be bored to death just doing ribbing. So I ripped it out and I made the hat instead. Anyway, the next project that I really wanted to do, though, was this other project with this set of yarn that I had that I really wanted to use and had planned to use for this other project. But I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's ribbing too. But what I failed to realize until after I did download the pattern was that this ribbing was actually worked horizontally instead of vertically. Because usually when you're knitting ribbing, you know, it's vertical in nature as you're working it. Whereas this project, and I'm going to show it to you now instead of just talking about it randomly, is being knit this way. Can you see the ribs in there? Here, let me take you to the more solid area. So you're working 4 rows at a time to create each rib, and then they alternate, obviously, because that's what ribbing is. And the first time I read the pattern, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, where's the ribbing coming from? Because I was fully expecting my ribbing to be vertical, which doesn't make sense considering I also knew that this was an end-to-end construction. So it wasn't clicking. You know, that preconceived notion about ribbing just was taking over. So it took me a couple times to read the pattern. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. That might not be so bad because you are actually doing something almost every row. Something is happening, especially because the one edge of this pattern has an I-cord and, you know, incorporated to it. So you've got this I-cord edge. So you're doing that on 2 of the rows, making the I-cord. And then the other rows, well, actually, you're doing something for the I-cord on every row. And then there's 1 row out of every 4 that you're doing an increase. And then you're obviously switching between knitting and purling, depending on which segment you're on. It's a really interesting pattern. And it's actually, after I got into it, you know, and did a few of the repeats of it, it's an 8-row repeat. Did a few of the repeats. It became very intuitive and very easy to read and know what you need to do next. I've been really enjoying it. So, yes, I told you who it was by. Marilee Erickson. It's called the Riblet Shawlette. Now, it is written for fingering weight, and it's written, I believe, for just like 1 skein of fingering weight yarn, like around a 400-yard skein. I'm using worsted weight yarn, and I'm using 3 skeins because I don't want it to just be a small shawlette. I want it to be a big squishy shawl. And I'm loving how it's turning out. So the yarns that I am using are 3 skeins of my yarn, Fiber Nymph Dye Works, that I dyed, I think in 2017, for a club. You might remember I did the Killarney Collection Club, which the colorways were all inspired by a canoe trip that my husband and I had taken to Killarney Provincial Park in Canada in the fall of 2016. Yeah, because it was the year we got married. And so I had these 3 colorways, and I had kept 1 skein of each for me. I'd just never done anything with them yet. And so I decided I was going to make this shawl, and I was going to then fade each of those colors in. I feel like maybe I did explain this to you last time, but I don't think I had this started yet. I'm sorry if I'm being repetitious. Anyway, so the very first skein that I worked on was this yellow-green called Magical Marshes, because if I can find the picture of the marshes that was inspired this yarn, I'll put it in here. I don't know that I have those on this hard drive, though. I'm not sure. So consider it a bonus if you see the pictures. So the first one was that, and then I worked that all the way up until I had about 20 grams left, and then I started working in this second skein, which is, it's got some golds in it still, but also oranges and grays and neutrals. This one is called Shortcut to Mushrooms. No, Shortcuts and Mushrooms. Shortcut to Mushrooms is a Lord of the Rings thing. Shortcuts and Mushrooms, so it's sort of a play on that name, which was inspired by this one particular portage trail that we had to walk that had just tons of mushrooms on it. So it's a portage is a shortcut from one lake to the other. When you can't paddle through to the next lake, and the shortcut had a lot of mushrooms on it. So anyway, that's where you see this. You can see it going in there. And instead of, I originally thought I would do 1 4-row repeat in one color, then jump to the next one. And that did not work. It's not that that didn't work. I thought about it, and I thought it might be better, instead of having to carry the yarn up 4 rows, to just switch every 2 rows. So that's what I did. So I'm not sure if you can, how well you can see it. I would do 2 rows with the new yarn, and then 2 rows with the marshes yarn. So mushrooms, marshes, mushrooms, marshes. There was one point in here though where I must have been watching something, or I don't know. And I totally lost track of what I was doing, and I did forget to switch the way I had been. So I have one area here that has a long carry because I didn't even wrap the float in. It'll be fine, but anyway, other than that, I think it's going well. So this is, I'm now fully in just the second color, and then my third color will be this one, which is called Twilight at Hairy Lake, which is inspired by a picture I took when we were camped on Hairy Lake on this little island. And the sunset was just beautiful that day, and the twilight was lovely. So, and that has some yellow specks in it, but it also has the blues and then some gray, sort of a grayish blue. So I think it'll work in well, since this also has yellows and grays. I mean, you'll definitely be able to see all 3 of the colors, you know, they'll stand out in this, but I think in the fade sections it'll work, and I think it'll look really cool once it's done. And I'm very excited to have an entire shawl that will celebrate that trip, because it was such a lovely trip. Oh, it was really interesting too, because I started this last Saturday. That's when I cast it on, and Saturday afternoon Bill and I were watching a virtual tour of the McMichael. The McMichael is a an art museum in, I'm going to get the location wrong, Ottawa? Is it in Ottawa? I don't know. I'm sorry if that's wrong. Anyway, the McMichael. My husband loves the McMichael, and he is particularly fond of the group of 7 artists. We in fact have 2 of, well, not their actual paintings, but 2 prints of their paintings in our bathroom, because everybody puts art in their bathroom. But anyway, my husband really likes them, and I was looking for some sort of virtual tour, something that we could do, or a virtual concert that we could do for Valentine's Day, and that's what I found. I was really excited because, like I said, he really likes those. So it was at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So that was our kind of little Valentine's date, was to watch that virtual tour of the group of 7, because I think it's like their 100-year anniversary or something. And I started this, and it was just so funny because these were yarns inspired by our trip to Killarney, which Killarney is one of the places that some of the artists used as their inspiration for their paintings. And it didn't actually dawn on me until after we were already watching. I'm like, oh, this is a perfect project for me to be working on while we're watching this. And he was drinking a beer that is a Canadian also, or at least Canadian inspired, La Fin du Monde, and I can't remember what brewery makes it, but he really likes that beer. So he's like, well, this is an appropriate beer to be drinking while we're watching this too. So it was a very Canadian little Valentine's Day date. I wish I could say I had intentionally started this project while we were watching. It just happened to work out serendipitously. Anyway, that's the story of this shawl. And I'm really enjoying working on it, and I have to make myself not work on it all the time, or else my Ramona is not going to get any work. So it's kind of nice that both of them are fairly simple. Like, they're not completely mindless because you have to remember to do things, but they're not anything where I have to follow a pattern or count or, you know, do a whole lot of that. So they're both really good projects to work on, and I'm hoping to just work on those and not really cast anything else on right now, because I would like to get both of those finished in short order, essentially. So we'll see how that goes. All that to say is I don't have any other plans to cast anything else on right now, although I don't have any socks actively on the needles right now, which is very weird for me. I have some like hibernating socks that I could pull out, but I'm not feeling inclined to do any of those right now. But chances are I will probably cast a sock on sometime in the near future, either that or another hat, a simple hat, just because you know, I need to have some sort of easy thing to work on that doesn't require thought. Although, quite frankly, Ramona right now is very easy. I just have to remember when I'm doing on the purl side, I have to knit those 2 stitches to do the garter, and that's all I have to really remember. So I don't know, we'll see. Although Ramona is not terribly portable, so if I need a portable project, then I will cast on a sock probably, or a hat. Stay tuned. That's it for the projects. Let's talk a little bit about the nature make-alongs that I talked to you about last time. I do have a post up on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works website that has all of the guidelines and everything that I talked about last time. And then also there's a thread in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry group that also has all of the rules. I was going to say rules and regulations. They're guidelines. So that's the 2 places that you can find all of those. In general, the feedback about the make-alongs has been really positive. So thank you for that. A couple of things, though, that I've noticed in comments, especially in the Ravelry group. A couple people have commented that they're feeling a little overwhelmed by the parameters, I guess, of the make-along, and, you know, for each of the 4 make-alongs periods have a theme, you know, based around nature, flora, fauna, sky, and sea and sky. Sky and sea. I don't remember which order they're in right this second, but anyway, those are the 4 themes. And so a couple people have commented, well, I have to try to figure out how to, you know, like, make the projects that I'm going to do work into that, or, you know, comments about not wanting to cast on projects just to fit in with those themes if they're not really things that they want. And I'm absolutely in favor of not casting things on just to fit in with those themes. That was not my intent at all. I honestly felt like doing it this way with these themes made things pretty wide open. And I guess that's because I'm looking at it from the perspective of taking the theme and then taking what you already know you want to work on and finding a way that that fits in. I would say color is probably the easiest way to fit something in like that. I think the example that I gave in the Ravelry group when I was talking about this was, say you have something that you're knitting out of green yarn, or that involves green yarn. You know, what is something in flora that is green? Well, leaves are green. You know, yeah, leaves. Let's just go with leaves. Generally, leaves are green. So that's a great tie-in. Fauna. Frogs are green. Insects. There's certain insects that are green. So there you go for fauna. Sky. What did I say for sky? Oh, the northern lights. You know, the green color in the northern lights. Green. There you go. And sea. I mean, there's the color of the sea sometimes looks green. There's seaweed that's green. You know, mossy sea rocks can be green. Anything like that works. The other thing is like the use of your project. So let's say you're planning to make a shawl that otherwise you can't see any tie-in. Well, how might a shawl relate to flora? Maybe you are out taking a walk in the woods and you're looking at the trees and you're chilly, so you wrap up in your shawl while you're taking your walk. So fauna, maybe. And I mean, some of this is a little bit fantastical, but like maybe you're out and you're having a picnic and, a bunny comes and like curls up on your shawl because you have it laying on the ground. Crazy maybe and a little silly, but it's a tie-in. It's a story and you can tie it in. See, you're you're out on the beach at night and you're chilly, so you're wrapped up in your shawl. And sky, maybe you're out watching the stars or you're watching a meteor shower and you're chilly, so you have your shawl on. These are all stories, and they don't have to be based in your own personal reality to work for this make-along. Okay, same with the colors. Even if you're nowhere near a beach or nowhere near being able to see the northern lights, if the color works with those things, you can claim it. It's fine. I want this to be fun. I don't want this to be something that causes stress. That was never the intention. And if it takes creating a story to make your projects work with these make-alongs, I am wholeheartedly behind that, because I love storytelling and creating stories that bring us joy. And if the story brings you joy and the knitting brings you joy, or the making or whatever it is that you're doing, the weaving, the spinning, the crocheting, then if it works for the make-along, fabulous. You've just found your tie-in to our make-along. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to even be based in reality. Like, if you want to somehow tie your projects in with things in the fantastical world of gnomes or fairies or whatever, as long as they're somehow tied with that theme, perfect. You are welcome to do that. So I hope that alleviates any element of stress with regard to the make-alongs, because I don't want them to be stressful. I want them to be easy and fun and enjoyable from every aspect. The other thing I wanted to mention about the make-alongs was there was a comment about a lot of the projects that some people do are smaller projects and they don't even get up to 50 grams. I used 50 grams as the minimum for projects because I thought, well, most hats and most socks and everything will at least hit 50 grams, at least based on the things that I make. Looking back on some of the recent projects, I will say that they are under that, but overwhelmingly, usually they're at least 50 grams. So I am trying to think of a way that I can also, or we can incorporate smaller projects in some way. I'm not going to change the 50 gram for the qualifying project. I don't think I'm going to change that. I have to think about it. I don't want to like turn people away from participating in the make-along because all they do is knit hats and the hats are all about 45 grams. Like that, that would not be fun or happy or enjoyable. So I really want to make sure that as many people as possible can be included. So let me think about that aspect, and I will get back to you on that one in the next podcast, which will definitely be prior to the start of the make-alongs. It may only be by a day or two, but I will also make a note in those two places, the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog post and the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Ravelry thread. I will note in both of the places where the guidelines currently are that I've changed that or amended that in some way. So don't let that deter you from participating. I'd really like you to be a part. I'll make it work somehow. Okay, so that is everything with the nature make-alongs. Again, if you have any more questions or thoughts or concerns about it, please feel free to put them in the comments or comment in either of those other places, or you can always email me, fibernymph@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you about them. Okay, so next is the giveaway. Last week I told you we were going to be doing a giveaway for this book, Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarns by Stephanie Lotvin. I'm giving away the book as well as 2 skeins of yarn two worsted weight yarns. This is Sugar Plumbed and the Plum Semi-Solid that goes with it. Merlot, actually. This is the Merlot, but it goes with it. So the winner is going to get the book and both skeins of yarn. And I will announce that in a minute. I did a random comment picker from all of the comments from the last video, because that's where we were doing the entries. So I did that right before I started to record, so I do have the winner for you. But before I mention that, I also want to mention that Stephanie is currently offering a huge giveaway through her Instagram. So if you go to Tallybean Knits on Instagram, her feed, that's Stephanie's feed, Tallybean Knits, you'll see a post that she put it up yesterday, but she's going to be posting about it, I believe, the whole next week, about a giveaway that will include another set of this yarn plus yarn from, I believe, 4 other dyers, maybe 4 or 5 other dyers, plus a copy of the book. One winner is going to get all of that. It's a really fabulous giveaway. So if you aren't the winner of this one, or even if you are, and you want to win or be entered for that, head over to Tallybean Knits post on Instagram and follow her instructions for entering her drawing. I have it linked in my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Instagram account as well. There's a post yesterday, so you can see that. But yeah, that's another way for you to win. Okay, so anyway, I have to get to the right page. I used commentpicker.com, and there were 79 unique entries for the drawing, so 79 unique comments, and that did not include any of my responses to comments that I made last time. And the comment that was picked is by Melissa Esquivel, Esquibel. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that close. So Melissa's comment was, I'm a new knitter and would love to make a shawl with this gorgeous yarn. Thank you. Loved your video. Well, thank you. I'm glad you loved the video. And congratulations, Melissa. You are the winner of the book and the yarn. So please email me at fibernymph@gmail.com and let me know your mailing information, full name, and shipping address, and I will get your prize out to you. So thank you for entering. Thank you to everybody who entered. I really enjoyed reading your responses. I tried to at least give a little heart on all of the comments. There may be some from the past couple of days that I haven't been able to get to, but I have been looking at all of them. So I really, really appreciate all of your comments and all of your entries. So yay! All right, that's everything for 90%. Let's talk about the state of the studio. What is going on in the shop? There will be a shop update on Saturday, the 20th of February at 10 a.m. Eastern, and this is going to be an update dedicated to heavier weight yarns. Primarily my twist base, which is a non-superwash worsted weight. It's actually kind of a heavy worsted weight, but it's got both black and white merino in it that makes not a gradient, but makes a marl of colors. And so there's really light areas, there's darker areas, and there's sort of little gray areas. It's super fun to dye up. So I will have twist, I will have mega, which is my bulky base. I don't dye that up very often, and this is going to be the one big update that has all of the rest of my mega that I had in stock to dye is dyed up. It will be in this update. And then I also did some worsted weight inversibles. So let me show you just some samples of what I've got. The twist and the mega, I did some self-stripings. I did not bring samples of all of them in, but they are all up in the shop right now, so you can preview them. They won't be available for purchase, though, until 10 a.m. on Saturday. So this is the colorway Emergence. So these are the same colorways, but you can see on the twist where it's got the darker yarn in there. And then where the dark and the light comes together, there's sort of a gray area, which just dyes up differently. It's just a really fun base to knit with because you get the stripes, but you also get that marling in there. It's just very dynamic. And this one was kind of fun to do too. This is my grayscale colorway, so it's got black, well, well, in this case, I used soot, so it's a very dark, dark charcoal gray. Dark gray, light gray, and then the undyed stripe there. So that plays really fun with the twist marling as well. So there will be some grayscale. Then I pulled out a lot of my older colorways because that's the other thing with these heavy yarns, especially twist, because it's non-superwash. It's very hard for me to dye up more than 4 stripes in this yarn because of how poofy it gets, and it just wants to suck the dye up from its neighboring color, and so I get a lot of really muddy colors if I try to do larger striping patterns. So 4 is about the limit, and this is one of the 4 stripes. The 3 and 4 stripe colorways that I have, a lot of them are my older colorways. They'd actually be really good for Throwback Thursdays, but I just did a bunch of those. This is Polly Want a Cracker, because these are those bright tropical bird colors on both of the yarns. And the other one that I brought in is actually a colorway that I just sort of made up as I was doing this, and I'm calling it Silhouette, because it really reminded me of the colors of, like, if you have mountains out in the distance right as the sun is starting to set, how they kind of get darker first, and you can just get those dark purples and neutral tones, and that's what this reminded me of. So I'm calling it Silhouette, and that's a 4 striper as well. So there's several more self-striping colorways on those 2 bases. Like I said, they're up in the shop now. You can take a look at them if you'd like to. I also did some semi-solid colorways on each of those bases as well. I didn't bring any in to show you, but again, those are all up there. If I can, I will put a picture in here of all of them together. Now, when I say semi-solid, just remember the semi-solid colors on twist will still have that marling that's a part of the base yarn, but the color that I dyed it on is a semi-solid color. There's no tonal or variegation to it. Okay, and then lastly, I did inversibles on Cozy, which is my superwash worsted weight base. They're a lot of fun to do, like mitts with, or mittens, or gloves if you're really into doing gloves. I don't do fingers. I need to, but I don't. I've seen people do hats with things like this. The monster cowl, where you do the, what's it called? The chevron. I actually did that out of some inversibles one time. I'll try to put a picture of that in here too. I used another color in with it though. The foolproof cowl. Anyway, cowls and hats. You can have a lot of fun with inversibles. It does not have to just be for something that isn't a pair, like socks or anything. Of course, you could make house socks out of these. I don't know that I would wear these in shoes since there's no nylon in them, unless you were knitting them at a very, very tight gauge. They would be very warm socks. But anyway, I just did up a few sets of these because I know there are some people who like them. Well, this isn't very helpful, is it? Because I brought in 2 of the one skein. I do have this color combo, Vivid Violet and Fuchsia, in an inversible form, so the other one is actually Vivid Violet heavy. I just grabbed the wrong skein. So there's that one, Denim and Wisp, Deep Red, and Soot. This is Soot too. And then I did Monarch Orange and Graphite, which is the midway gray between Wisp and Soot. So anyway, those are the yarns that will be up in the shop for the update on Saturday. I just got a shipment in from my Haya dealer, so I am restocking the needles again. A lot of people have been buying knitting needles lately, so thank you. But I'm adding 9-inch circulars. I don't enjoy knitting with 9-inch circulars for socks, but I know there are other people who do, so I decided to stock some sock sizes of 9-inch circulars. I'm going to try to get those up in the shop in time for the update. Hopefully I will be able to do that. And then I also have some notions like scissors. I actually had scissors a long time ago. I've never gotten them up in the shop. They're in there now. There's little Haya, the puppy snips and the kitty snips. And then I had some decorative scissors. I have these really cool decorative scissors that I just got into. And I also got point protectors. So I'm going to try to get all that stuff photographed and listed in the shop in time for the update on Saturday. I never used to carry that kind of stuff, but number one, I think it's handy to be able to have an option to get that kind of thing if you're buying yarn. And also, if you're trying to get to the $50 for free shipping, it's an excellent way to, just round up to that $50 if you're just a few dollars short, those kind of things, because they're not super expensive and they're useful. So anyway, that's shop stuff. Oh, the other thing that will hopefully also be in the shop. I had to wait until I could get boxes in to ship these. I have these mugs. And I carry cards that are like this. I have to get my sheep together. These mugs are so much fun. This is mine. But these are not from the Hi Darrow. These are from Knit Ba Pearl. I carry her note cards and tags in the shop, and I got some of her mugs because I just thought these were so cute. These are the big mugs. I forget, are they 15 ounces maybe? They're not the smaller mugs. I mean, you can see I'm holding it, so that's how big they are. The listing will have the exact details. So if you order one of these, it will probably end up shipping in its own package, because I have to ship it in obviously a box, not a soft mailer like I ship everything else. So if you order this along with other things, just be aware it may not all come together, but you can get it and it's super fun. So yeah, I hope you enjoy these. I only have, I think, maybe 5 in the shop, and if they sell out I can always get more, but I just wanted to try them as something fun. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about my favorite things and the things that are bringing me joy this week. Okay, so my morning routine is pretty standard during the week. Weekends are different, but weekdays, I get up at 5 o'clock because my husband gets up a little earlier than that and gets ready. And then he gets me up at 5 and I go out and we get to enjoy time together while he's, having his breakfast, and I have coffee with him. And then once he starts work at 6, that's my time. I've always taken that first couple of hours of the day after he's gone to work and use that as my crafting time. So I usually come in here into the bedroom, and this is my place. I sit in bed. And what I've been doing differently though recently, instead of just grabbing like a knitting project or whatever and listening to a podcast or watching a podcast, is the past few days I've been coming in here and I've been nesting myself in bed. I have my coffee, I light a candle. I haven't been watching podcasts the last few days. I've been listening to music, and the music that I've been enjoying so much is there are some compilation videos on YouTube with just like ambience kind of music, ambiance kind of music from Lord of the Rings. There's a few different ones that I've listened to, and it's just that really beautiful music. It's so relaxing to me. Lord of the Rings, you know this if you've been watching, Lord of the Rings is my happy place. Like, if I could just sit and watch those movies every day, I probably would, because I enjoy them so very much. But just listening to the music is wonderful as well. And so I sit here with my coffee and my candle and my music, and I surrounded myself. I surround myself with projects. I've had Ramona, I've had this shawl, I've had whatever else I've been working on. I have my drawing book with my pens. I have a stack of books with me. I mean, I know that in those couple of hours that I have, I'm never, ever going to get to all of those things, and that's not the point. The point is multifold. One part of it is, it just makes me really happy to be surrounded by those things that I enjoy and that bring me joy. And so just having them all there as options feels really special to me. Maybe that sounds weird. But I'm so thankful, and I recognize that I have that privilege of having all that many things to just enjoy. And so, yeah, I'm really enjoying that. And so then I pick, one and work on it, or a couple of them and work on it throughout the morning. But just having the things that bring me joy around me has been so nice. And I don't know why. It's such a simple thing. Um, and I'm usually wrapped in a shawl or have a hand knit sweater on, or both. It's such a nice way to enter my day. And um, and not have to rush and not feel like I only have a limited option. I mean, I know I only have limited options. That's what I'm saying. Like the time frame limits my options completely. But that doesn't mean I can't surround myself by more than what I know I'll be able to get to. Because then there's always the promise of tomorrow. Like tomorrow I will have that morning time again, usually. Yeah, so that's been bringing me joy. That might sound completely bonkers, but it works for me. And I would say to you, like, if you think that might be something that would be really cool for you too, and you don't have maybe the luxury of getting back in bed or whatever, maybe have a basket. I've done this in the past before too. I just have a basket that I can carry around with me to different places. I do it especially in the summer if I'm going to be going outside in the morning to have that time. And I just put like a book and my journal, a knitting project, my phone, so I can listen to a podcast or music or whatever, maybe a deck of my tarot cards, whatever it is that I think will, you know, bring me a little bit of happiness and calmness to the beginning of my morning, the beginning of my day. That's what I do. So that's what's been bringing me joy this week. So, for what that's worth. All right, I'm going to go because I need to get ready to go on my errands for the day. I hope you are having a lovely week. I will look forward to speaking with you again before the end of the month. I'm sorry, I keep moving. This is on a carpet, and I keep moving the carpet, and the camera's moving. Anyway, I hope, I just hope you are able to find those moments of joy and quiet and calm in your days, because I know days can get really busy and crazy and frenetic, and add into it anything you're watching or hearing on the news or in media, social media. Sometimes social media stresses me out. Does it do that with you too? I mean, and I'm even talking like Instagram, like where most of the stuff I'm looking at is knitting. Like how is that stressful? But sometimes it does. It's not stressful, probably more overwhelming. And I look at all the things people are doing, and I think, why am I not doing these things? Why am I not creating all this stuff? And, that overwhelms me. So I sometimes have to make the choice of tuning that out and focusing on what I do have. That's the other benefit of like surrounding myself by a handful of the things that I know I can work on that will make me happy, and I don't have to have that weird comparison thing going on in my head. Yeah. Anyway. All right. Find joy where you can. Don't feel bad if you can't find the same joys that other people seem to have, because you aren't them. Just find the ones that make you happy, and that's all that matters. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.